Right, so this is part 2 of video number 3. Alright, so next in rank to the superintendent of the household was the Lady of Honor and Mistress of the Queen's Wardrobe. During the period when there was no superintendent, it was the Lady of Honor and the Mistress of the Wardrobe who were responsible for all the duties that would normally befall on the superintendent. The Lady of Honor had duties of her own as well. This included sending out invitations in the Queen's name and managing the Queen's trips. So whenever the Queen would go to Fontainebleau or other palaces in the area, or when Queen Marie Antoinette would go to her Petit Trianon, they were also accountable for the changes in furniture, as well as for the lace and linen for the Queen's bed and public toilet. The Mistress of the Wardrobe was responsible for the Queen's clothing, her napkins, and her chemises. Third in rank was the Dames du Palais, ladies of the palace. Up until 1674, the Queen's household had counted several ladies of honor who were married ladies-in-waiting and demoiselles d'honneur and filles d'honneur, who were young, unmarried girls in the Queen's service. Often these girls were placed in the Queen's service so that she could arrange good marriages for them. However, these girls were replaced by the new position, Dames du Palais, who had to be at least 12 years old, and one can only imagine that the Queen would tire of having spoiled young girls being placed in her care. Overall, the job of a Dames du Palais was to keep the Queen company, and they were to be constantly available to the Queen, since they were sort of assistant to her, and one of their chores would be to fetch something for her. However, these girls were never to be considered servants, as they were high-born ladies, and the title servant was too low of a title for them. Instead, they were quality companions. The Dames du Palais were expected to go everywhere with the Queen. Therefore, they had to have a complete court education. Riding, dancing, and playing instruments were skills that every Dame du Palais had to possess. They also had to be able to handle expensive gowns and write in preferably a couple of languages. So, Jeanne Agnès Bothelot de Pléneuf, Marquise de Pré, I hope I pronounced that right, was a Dame du Palais to King Louis XV's Polish queen, who was the daughter of the King of Poland, whose name I cannot pronounce, as I said before, so therefore I will not attempt to. During the first few years of her marriage, Jeanne traveled with her husband between the courts of Savoy, a region in the southwest of France, and Turin, Italy, where he was an ambassador. At the age of 21, Jeanne returned to France, where she became the mistress of Louis IV Henri de Bourbon, Duc de Bourbon, during his ministry from 1723 to 1725. Jeanne dominated the royal court during this time, and was even part of engineering the marriage between King Louis XV and the Polish princess. Alright, so the first ladies of the bedchamber were fourth in rank of the ladies in the Queen's household. This position was occupied by two women. For the first ladies of the bedchamber, time was of the essence. It was them that would inform that the Queen would inform when she rose in the morning, got dressed, went hunting, etc. This was just the lightweight of her jobs, though. The first ladies of the bedchamber were responsible for all pensions and payments going out of the Queen's privy purse. It was a heavy task indeed. To make it even more delicate, the first ladies of the bedchamber were given the responsibility of the Queen's diamonds. So, of course, she had to be a really trusted lady, but even if she tried to steal the diamonds, she would be put to death anyway, or fired. It was also their responsibility to make introductions to the Queen. So if they were at a party or a public gathering and there was someone new to the court, or if there was a foreign envoy, then it would be the first ladies of the bedchamber who would introduce this man or woman to the Queen. So she had to know everybody's name. During Marie Antoinette's time, the yearly payment of the First Lady of the Bedchamber was 12,000 francs, which was not much considering the standard of the times. So, Jeanne Louise Henriette Campan, otherwise known as Madame Campan. By the age of 15, she could speak English and Italian, and had gained so high a reputation for her academic accomplishments that in 1768 she was appointed a reader for King Louis XV's daughters, Victoire, Sophie, and Louise. In 1770, she was appointed as a lady-in-waiting to Marie Antoinette, who was still the Dauphin of France at the time. The Dauphin of France at the time. In 1774, she married a Monsieur Campan, son of a secretary of the royal cabinet, but the marriage was an unhappy one, and the couple separated in 1790. In 1786, she was appointed as First Lady of the Bedchamber to Marie Antoinette, and she remained so until the storming of the palace on August 10, 1792, when she was forcibly separated from the Queen. So this would have been during the Reign of Terror. With her own home burnt and pillaged, Jeanne sought asylum in the countryside. She survived the Reign of Terror, and in 1807 she was appointed superintendent of the academy founded by Emperor Napoleon for the education of the orphaned daughters of his legions of honor. She held this post until 1814, and she eventually died penniless in 1822 at the age of 69. All right, so that's it for the Queen's household. My next video will be on the King's household, which is an entirely different story. He had a lot more servants than the Queen, and some of the positions will seem quite ridiculous to us. So make sure to subscribe and be sure to join me for my next video. Bye.